Okay, students, today the class which will take place, that will be containing a short story which was discussed yesterday, but yesterday we discussed this story in the light of important points. Today we will be having the details of the short story, The Necklace, written by a French writer, Guy De Maupassant. He's a French writer. First of all, let me give you a background of this short story. The necklace, or sometimes the diamond necklace, both are the names of the same story. But whereas your course is concerned, we will go through the first name, The Necklace. It was first published in 17 Feb 1884 in the French newspaper Gaulois. It was first published in 17 Feb 1884, and the name of the newspaper, which was a French newspaper, that was Gaulois. Okay. Now the next thing which we will be discussing in this short story, and you may come across a question in your paper, will be about the symbolism, about the themes, about the main crux of that. But first of all, you need to understand the symbolic trends or elements of this short story. Most probably, the necklace basically symbolizes the following: the hidden motives. How I will let you know: wealth and prosperity, discontentment, greed, difference between reality and appearance, deceptiveness, lust, greed, excessive greed, greediness, thanklessness, greed and curse, pride. So, next. Basically, if you talk about the genre, you know what we mean by genre or genre mean category. In literature, what is the category of this literary work? So this is basically based on naturalism. What is naturalism? Naturalism in literature is a late 19th and early 20th century movement that portrays life as a harsh, deterministic reality, emphasizing the influence of the environment, heredity, and social forces on human behavior. In simple words, if I say, it will show the impacts of the society on the human beings, how human beings are influenced by the trends and the elements which are quite prevalent in the society, and how the individuals and the people of that particular society are being affected by those trends and traditions in the society. Next. When you talk about the main characters of this story, yesterday, if you remember, we discussed there are three main characters of this story, and the focal or the central character of this story is Mathilde Loisel. Who is she? Mathilde is a protagonist, the heroine of the short story. She is a beautiful young woman when the story begins, but yearns for wealth. She is always curious to get more and more wealth, and whatever she was having, she was not satisfied with that. So in other words, she is showing greed. She is the symbol of discontentment. She is the symbol of thanklessness, and she is showing that wealth and prosperity and property is everything to be a nice and attractive personality. This is what she is portraying. She is envious of the financially affluent and places a lot of emphasis on material belongings. So she is a materialistic lady. She is always inspired by a rich class. Most importantly, she is having one of her friends, and the name of her friend is Forrester, Madame Forrester. She is a rich lady, and she is always inspired by this lady, and she wants to look like that, and she wants to be what she is not. That is what is the difference between reality and appearance. She wants to become what she isn't, and she wants to hide what she really is. Next character is Monsieur Loisel. This personality is the husband of Mathilde. What is the quality of that? Monsieur Loisel is the Mathilde's husband, and is happy with his station in life. He is madly in love with her and does his best to please her despite being unable to understand her. He gives her what he can and sacrifices his wants for her happiness. As we discussed that in life, wealth, materialistic approach, money, these all things are not as important as we are thinking. If you do not have peace of mind, if you are not having a relaxed life, if you do not have the real comfort of life, when you are tied in a matrimonial alliance, so that movement you are supposed to realize the fact that if somebody has got a real and a nice and a caring life partner, that is the biggest bliss of Allah Almighty, which Mathilde could not understand and which she always underestimated. Being within his limits, he always tried to fulfill whatever he was able to do. But even then, she was always asking for more and more. And the last personality is Madame Forestier. As I told you, she is Mathilde's wealthy friend. She lends Mathilde a necklace to wear to a party and accent her new dress. Accent means just to increase the charm of the dress. She was having a wonderful dress, but for that she was in need of jewelry which she borrowed from Madame Forestier, and that was the same necklace which is being discussed by us, and the name of the story has been taken from that particular point. Important points of the story. This is a thought-provoking story. Next. It is depicting multi-dimensional themes. It means it will not be moving or revolving around a single theme. There are so many things which can be taken out from the story. The main theme of the story is wealth and prosperity. But real wealth and prosperity is not what Mathilde was thinking. I will be having discussion with you. The author has depicted reality of the French society, that clothing and fancy jewels were a symbol of status and wealth in 19th century Paris, France. The story revolves around the character of Mathilde Loisel, the central figure of the story. She was fully dissatisfied with the lifestyle she was having. She always dreamt of a luxurious lifestyle. She was full of ostentations. She was fully inspired by one of her friends, Madame Forestier, a rich lady. Mathilde was married to a clerk in the Ministry of Education. What was the name of that person? Loisel, Mr. Loisel. Although he was a poor person, yet he was deeply in love with Mathilde and tried his level best to fulfill all the demands she was having in her mind. She was the most unfortunate lady that she couldn't recognize the greatest bliss in the shape of her husband, Mr. Loisel, because he was the personality who was always sincere to her and tried his level best just to give her all the comforts of and luxuries of life, being within the limits of his own circle. Okay. Gigi. Finally, she was deceived by the appearance and paid the price too. Now, this is what I say from the beginning till end. Story in a nutshell. What she did, she was always curious to get more and more. But now we are going to get information about one thing, that is necklace. The necklace was given by Madame Forestier to Mathilde. She wore that and she looked so pretty in the party. But what happened? Unfortunately, she lost that necklace, and just because of that, she had to pay the price of that. And what was the price? We will be discussing in the later on phase. Okay. When we talk about the themes, you may come across a question that what will be the theme? Themes are multi-dimensional, but one of the themes is that Guy De Maupassant, the necklace, surfaces many important themes people during his time would have related to. As the public became more and more literate, fiction was geared more towards the middle class. The stories featured issues of social status and struggle the lower and the middle classes could connect with. This was basically about the lower and middle class struggle, that they were always curious to get more and more and just to look wealthy and rich. Now we are coming towards some important symbolic points and some important points. Rather, I must say this is a review of the complete story, but a bit in detail. Just see deceptiveness and appearance. The reality of Mathilde's situation is that she is neither wealthy nor part of the social class of which she feels she is a deserving member. But Mathilde does everything in her power to make her life appear different from how it is. Now just see what we will be coming across as we came to know that from the very beginning, she was finding herself very unfortunate that she was married to a very poor person. And she was thinking that Her lifestyle, her personality's worth, these things are what she was having. She deserved more, but she was dissatisfied. She was not showing any contentment with the blessings she was having. So she always tried to get more and more, and she always tried to hide her real personality in the guise of good clothes and jewels, because she was fascinated by some great people or aristocrat or rich class. G. This was the next. The party is a triumph because for the first time her appearance matches the reality of her life, because this was the real place. This was the point where she got an opportunity. What sort of party? I mean, there was a party in the Ministry of Education, and her husband, Mr. Loisel, was invited with Mathilde to come and join us. But as you know, she was, living the life of illusions. So she was living in the world of, fancy or fantasy. She thought, I'm supposed to look the prettiest lady in the party. For that purpose, she bought a very expensive dress and she borrowed a necklace. So that was the opportunity when she was able to show that she was a very rich lady and she wanted to carry the day. She is prettier than the other women, sought after by men, and generally admired and flattered by all. Her life in the few short hours of the party is as she feels it should be. I mean, in a short tenure, the short duration of the party, she found the life what she was expecting. How? Everybody was having glance on her. Everybody was finding that she is the prettiest lady. She was being admired by all the people in the party. So this is what she was looking for. This is what we call materialistic approach. This is sort of illusion. She was living in fool's paradise. Real worth, or the real worth of life, is not the physical, I must say, appearance. Rather, I must say, it depends on your mentality. I mean, say nothing is good or bad. Shakespeare says nothing is good or bad, but these are your thoughts which make so and so. Move forward. She lives in illusory world where her actual life does not match the ideal life she has in her head. She believes that her beauty and charm make her worthy of greater things. Sometimes people start living in the world of superiority complex. When they think, I am the best and rest of the people are not able to surpass me and cannot be able to compete me. So she was having that sort of, ideas in her mind, thinking that she was living into the world of illusions. She was deceiving herself. But what I say, pretty is what pretty does, and handsome is what handsome does, and your actions speak much louder than your words. However, beneath this rightness and seeming match of appearance and reality is the truth that her appearance took a great deal of scheming and work. The bliss of her evening was not achieved without angst, show off, and the reality of her appearance is much different than it seems. Her wealth and class are simply illusions, and other people are easily deceived. What happened? This is basically what is happening in our society. You might have gone through one Urdu short story or a lesson that was overcoat. That was the same. In our society, every second and third person is disguised. They are trying their level best just to hide the reality of their personality. This was not the real trait of her personality. Everybody might have caught the idea that she was a rich lady, but writer is of the opinion that this was not the reality. Actually, reality was something else, because she was wearing the borrowed necklace, and the clothes which she was wearing, that was quite difficult for husband to buy, but even then he managed to buy it. She was wearing, but behind the scene she was something else. The deceptiveness of appearances is highlighted by Madame Forestier's necklace. Now you will come to know what is basically the hidden idea of this necklace. What is the problem with the necklace? Which appears to be made of diamonds, but is actually nothing more than costume jewelry. It was artificial. It was not made of diamond, but this was just the mentality, and just I must say, this was the idea of Mathilde when she saw or had a glance on the jewel box of Forestier. So she thought her friend is a rich lady, so she might not be wearing artificial jewelry. This might be of diamond. So she took it as a diamond. So this was her mental capacity. That was her mental approach. As I told you, for example, if somebody is coming out or getting out of a car, so that moment we never think whether this car belongs to that person or not. But the very first idea we get is he is such a rich person. If somebody is talking too much and using great words, this and that, just because of clothing, just because of dress, and just because of his big words, we take him as a rich personality, but we never try to realize the reality. This is the problem, reality and appearance. So this is what happened with Mathilde. She took it as a diamond necklace, but it was not a diamond necklace. But it is actually nothing more than costume jewelry. The fact that it comes from Madame Forestier's jewelry box gives it the illusions of richness and value. She took Madame Forestier as a rich lady. So everything belonging to a rich person and a rich lady will be of great importance. This was what Mathilde was thinking, and this was just the illusion. This was her mistake. This was her wrong ideology. And next, had Loisel suggested that Mathilde wear fake jewels, she surely would have scoffed at the idea. The same idea if Loisel, the husband of Mathilde, had asked her to wear the artificial jewelry, she would have scolded him and she would have shouted and she would have insulted him. What are you saying? What are you talking about? But at the same time, in the party, the necklace she was wearing, that was basically an artificial. Actually, that was belonging to a rich lady, that was being taken as a thing of great importance. She surely would have scoffed at the idea, just as she scoffed at his suggestion to wear flowers. But the husband asked her, if you do not have any jewelry, you are a pretty lady. Why don't you use flowers? It will definitely increase the beauty of your charm. But she was not accepting the idea. Why? Because the idea was coming from a poor person, like her own husband. Furthermore, the fact that Madame Forestier, in Mathilde's view, the epitome of class and wealth. She was the representative of rich class. She was taking him as so-and-so. As a necklace made of fake jewels suggests that even the wealthiest members of society pretend to have more wealth than they actually have. Actually, what is happening in the society, as I told you, every second and third personality is disguised. So what people are showing, they may not be the same. What they are having, that might not be belonging to them. And what watch, what cell phone, what car they are having, they might not be of their own. The watch can be artificial, the jewelry can be artificial, but as they have portrayed them very rich people, so we take the idea that everything belonging to them must be very expensive. This was what the mentality of Mathilde. Next, both women are ultimately deceived by appearances. Mathilde was deceived by the jewel box of Forestier. And how was Forestier deceived? Both the women are ultimately deceived by the appearances. Madame Forestier does not tell Mathilde that the diamonds are fake. This was one mistake. And Mathilde does not tell Madame Forestier that she has replaced the necklace. On one hand, the necklace was fake, but it was not conveyed to Mathilde. On the other hand, the necklace which was bought by Mathilde, that was actual real. It was having the real diamonds. She was not able to tell that. So both of them were deceived by each other. But what was the price paid by Mathilde? Will we discuss that? The fact that necklace changes unnoticed from worthless to precious. It was a trivial thing, but it became a very, very precious thing just because of deceptiveness, and suggests that true value is ultimately dependent on perception. Perception. What do you think that matters? Not to discuss the real, the worth of the thing. For example, if I'm holding this wristwatch, might be very cheap, not this expensive, but you may take a fancy that it might be very expensive, looking quite expensive. So that is your perception. So perception is everything. Everything becomes cheaper or expensive, lower, inferior or greater, just because of your mentality, just because of your perception. And this is what happened with Mathilde. Appearance, and that appearances can easily deceive. A person who is looking quite nice may not be nice. A person who is looking quite, poor might not be poor. A thing which is looking quite expensive may not be expensive. So there is a big difference between reality and appearance. So respectable stars, what happened? As I told you, this was it's a basic information about the whole story. Now, one by one, just see. Point one. Now, in the shape of points, I would like to discuss stories about a pretty lady, Mathilde Loisel. What sort of lady was she? She was a materialistic lady, and she was living in fool's paradise. She was thinking that wealth, appearance, and other materialistic approach or values play a very important role just to extend the charm of your personality. So it took place. She is always dissatisfied as she overestimated herself. She was thinking that I am a greater personality. She was living in superiority complex. And once you become the patient of superiority complex, so you always underestimate others. You say, I am everything and rest of the people are nothing in front of me, and this is what is happening to her. She lives in illusions, thinking that appearance puts good impression on people. This is what happened. She was married to a clerk in the Ministry of Education, which she takes as a shame. She was thinking that it was misfortune. Unfortunately, it took place. Accidentally, it happened that she married to a clerk. Otherwise, she was deserving more than that, the person of any rich class, just because of her pretty appearance. She thought herself to be worthier than what she really is. She was thinking that right now I am the wife of a poor person, I'm a clerk, but I'm more than that. I deserve more than that. If I'm the wife of a poor person, but I must not look like a wife of a poor person, I should be looking like a very prettiest, rather a richest lady. So this is what she adopted. Once her husband was invited in a grand party with his wife, as I discussed. Her husband bought her a dress worth his status, but she also demanded jewelry. Her husband was not able to buy that, but even then he managed some money and bought a very expensive dress for her so that she may not be dissatisfied or contented. She borrowed a necklace from her friend Forestier, as we discussed. She looked really prettier and everyone was impressed by her beauty in the party. This was the ultimate aim of Mathilde, and the end was very tragic because she lost the necklace and paid the price of her mistake. Just to compensate the necklace, both Mr. and Mrs. Loisel lost whatever they had. So what happened basically, when she was in the party, towards the conclusion of the party, she lost the necklace. She kept on finding that, but she was not able to find it out, and both her husband and Mathilde were captivated by the thought of buying this new necklace made of diamond. They were not able to buy, and it took them almost 10 years or more than that to buy the necklace. And just to compensate, they bought it and kept on compensating the payment of that jewelry which they lost. But after some times, when Madame Forestier met them, she was quite shocked by the appearance of Mathilde, that you are not the same what you used to be. You have lost all of your beauty. You are quite thin. What happened? They lost their flat. Whatever they were having, they lost all the wealth, everything, because they had to sell it out. And in return of that, they bought that necklace. But towards the conclusion, they came to know that when Madame Forestier disclosed that it was all an artificial jewelry and not more than that. So what happened? This pride, this deceptiveness, this illusion, this, I must say, reality and appearance put her in great difficulty, and whatever she was having, she had to lose that. And just because of that, whatever she was having, she is not the same, and whatever she was having, she did not have the same. So she lost everything, and this is the price which she had to pay. And what is the message we get from this story? That whatever we have, we should be satisfied. The real satisfaction is the mental satisfaction. If mentally you are relaxed, whatever you have, you are the most fortunate personality in the universe. Otherwise, if you keep on finding better, so whatever you were having, you will not be able to get that back. Thank you very much. That's enough for today. You can close it.